Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are excited to be back with you. We were not with you last week, but we are excited to see you with us tonight. I am going to like and share this, and I'm going to put our subject in there tonight. So just in case you have your children with you, you can decide if you want them.
What you need,
What's wrong, babe?
You want some more? Let me bring your plate down. Here, never mind. Come on.
You want to go ahead and say hello?
Hi.
Come on. Let's say hi. Take your place. Okay, come around and say hello. So you go up and have your dinner.
Hi.
Just say hello.
Hi.
Yeah, okay. Good night, right?
Good night.
All right. Hey, Latanya. And yes, we will still have our retreat on November 13th. Please register. And we will have a virtual option and an in-person option. So the flyer is showing you that, and so there's two different prices. In person will be more because we'll be offering food and gift bags and things of that nature. But you can join us by virtually, so via Zoom. And so what will happen is if you register by Zoom, then if you want to come by Zoom, then we'll send you the link for both of those days. So that's how it will work like that. So tonight we're going to talk about improving sexual intimacy in your relationship. So if you have children and you don't want them to hear the conversation, of course we won't be graphic or anything, but it's just up to you if you want to have your children present or not. But
hey, everybody.
The thing is that we've talked about how important physical sexual intimacy is to your relationship. We've also talked about how needs will change. What you did at the beginning may change. Your partner may desire different things. There may be different things that they need to satisfy them. There will be things you need to do differently to spice it up. So there's just a whole bunch of different things when it comes to it. So you have to be open to that. And the biggest thing, again, is communicating. And one of my girlfriends, we were talking about how we always talk about communication is the most important thing on any subject, but not just communication, but ensuring that communication is taking place. So the biggest misconception about communication is assuming that it has happened. Because, I can talk to you, but if you misunderstood or didn't grasp what I was saying, then communication really hasn't happened because we still miscommunicating. And it's the same thing with anything. So with sex, with money, with anything, you have to make sure that you are clear with your needs. So, as we continue, I just see Latanya, but it says we got more people on. So if you're on,
let us know where you are.
Let us know who you are and that you're with us tonight. Because I really want to see who's on with us tonight. So, we're gonna talk about if maybe not spicing it up is the only thing that's the issue. Even after physical connection has taken place, you still may not have, hey Q. So even after physical connection has taken place, you still may not feel emotionally connected. Hey, Miss Jackie. And the reason could be is your intimacy is not there. And so intimacy, in every true sense of the word, has to be there as well. So you could be physically connected, but you still don't feel the emotional connection. So that's why when we talk about sexual intimacy, we're not just talking about sex. We're talking about everything, the physical act, but the emotional connection that's attached to it. And a lot of times, we've talked about how there have been times where we were not connecting. We couldn't connect anywhere else, but we could connect sexually. But at a deeper level, it allowed us to connect because we have a level of intimacy already established in our relationship. And you have to have that foundation of intimacy and what that looks like for your relationship, because intimacy is different for everyone.
It is.
It's different. And so you have to determine, hey, Lynn, what that looks like for the two of you. So if you see a married couple that's been married for a number of years, and most of us wouldn't really know if they had an active sex life, but if there's a married couple that's been married years and years and they still have an active sex life, they're doing something right in other places because they have not lost that emotional connection. In most cases. Now you could just have people who just enjoy sex and they could not maybe get along anywhere else. But in most cases, if it's been some longevity and they're still extremely active, their level of intimacy is high as well. So they have a contact and friendship. They're warm towards each other and they're familiar with each other. Mm-hmm. And they keep that connection. So I believe, and I think Rob can attest to this as well, when you can truly become friends in your relationship, it connects you in this way that helps you when you argue, even when you have disagreements and you may be having a rough patch, but it's something about if you have established a friendship in your relationship, there's some things that you won't say because you won't be disrespectful. You won't try to tear that person down because that's your friend. Outside of it being your spouse, your lover, that's also your friend. You want to add to that?
Yeah, it makes the difference when you're friends because it gives you. The thing is, sometimes friends are judgmental, so you can't during intimacy. You can't be judgmental. But it's always good to be communicatable But as friends, you have to be able to relate in a space where you're communicating as friends. I don't know who that song was. Friends become lovers or whatever the heck it was. I don't know. But you have to be able to communicate in a space where you can share, details, what you like, what you don't like. And when you have a friendship within your marriage, it makes it easier not to communicate with those outside of your marriage about your demands. Whether it's male or female or male, just talking, or female just talking, but it's always good to where you can share those intimate moments with your spouse, or for those who are, and we know what the Bible says, but we ain't fools either. So whatever that is, you just got to be able to communicate that. And yes, we know what the Bible says, this, that, and third, but the reality is, okay, so you got to talk, about your desires and so forth and so on. So, yeah, let me wait a little bit so I don't put, all my foot in my mouth. So, come on, baby.
So, one of the things...
And we need your comments.
Yeah, please comment.
Please share your comments. And this
comments.
is a judgment-free zone from us.
Judgment-free. And it should be from everyone on here.
Yes, preferably, yes. Yes.
Judgment-free. We don't... It is what it is. So I shared before that I was invited last year. I think it was last year. I did a women's conference, and the topic was on sexual intimacy, healthy sexual relationships, and it was talking about in marriage or in your relationships. And one of the things I talked about, and I've mentioned it on here before, but I think it's something we really, really have to dive into. And we're seeing more and more women, especially Black women, embrace their sexual freedom. Mm. But a lot of women, especially Black women, still have a lot of hang-ups too. And a lot of it comes from our upbringing. And you still hear it a lot, especially if you were raised by old school parents. And so a lot of times all we heard was the negative about sex.
You're going to hell.
How you gonna let me finish?
Right.
All we ever heard was the negative.
Okay, I'm done. It's not my sister now. I'm sorry. Please carry on.
All you ever heard, please don't do that.
I won't.
All you ever heard was the negative. And in Rob's words, you going to hell. That is what you heard. You heard the negative, or that you was nasty, or because all they taught in church was, right, Lynn, good girls don't. So you heard fornication, you heard adultery, or you heard that homosexuals were going to hell. So everything about sex that we heard growing up was negative. We didn't hear
what's up, Casey?
The beautiful
Pastor
part.
Walker. First Lady Walker.
We didn't hear the beautiful part that God created it. That
Don't say a little bit.
How God created it. How, only thing probably positive we heard was to be fruitful and multiply. But we did not hear the positive affirmation about it, that it was a beautiful thing, that God created it, that it should be enjoyed, satisfying. We heard none of that. So most of us, especially women, grew up with very negative views. Very negative views. And so even if and when we participated in it, there was this shame that came. So I'll just say for myself. So, in college, of course, I was shamed. But the problem was once I even got married and I was in what would be considered a biblical, the right relationship, as they told you that, you had to be married, but because everything else around sex was negative, even when I got married, I still had some hang-ups around it in my head in order to be free, because everything I had been taught up till then was still negative. And so I had to get out of that to be able to fully enjoy. And I didn't consciously know that, but after really thinking through it, and understanding, because men aren't really given that same, they hear that same message, but they're not treated in the same vein. We've all heard about the young women who, when if they get pregnant, and they can get pregnant by somebody in the church, but it was the young woman they brought up to the front of the church and not the young man. So it was as if the woman did something wrong, but the man could go on and keep doing whatever he was doing. So men, almost in a sense, were they were given a pass, because it was like boys will be boys, men will be men. But women, is in a sense, we were held to a higher standard, and especially it seemed to be like that in the black church. So with that, as black women, a lot of times we carried that even subconsciously in the back of our head. And so then when we get married, you have a man, in most cases, who they've not been shamed by it, but you have a woman who could have been. And so then, even though the relationship is holy, there's still these hang-ups. And if there is, then you have an issue with satisfaction. You have an issue with pleasure if someone has hang-ups and they've got to get past that. And so then there's sexual intimacy issues because you have all these mental blocks that you got to get through because of what your upbringing has been. And it's a real thing. It is a very real thing. And sometimes we don't even want to be truthful about that, but it really is. You want to speak?
Yeah, not even, maybe a little over 15 years ago, Mel and I was visiting a church up in the mountains. I'm not going to call the church's name. I should, and I probably should call the pastor's name too, but I won't, for the respect out of the pulpit and the role it played into my mother's life. But nonetheless, about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, we were attending a service up there. This is well before I started pastoring and whatnot. But a young lady was pregnant. Grew up in the church. This is up in the foothills or the mountain area or whatever you call it. And a good friend of mine was preaching as a guest preacher at the time. He wasn't pastoring then, but he was a guest preacher. And they brought this young lady up to the front of the church, and actually embarrassed her for the sake of literary Bible readers and deep Baptist stupid religion, honestly, or practices. But they brought this young lady up to the front of the church, and my heart went out there for her because she was up there by herself. Her parents weren't there. No one consoled her. The damn boy, sure enough, wasn't there. He may have been in the church, but he wasn't up there standing by her side, you know. And it took me back to a place of my own teenage years where it happened to me. What had happened before my oldest was born, and just the integrity inside of me, and my mama and my daddy, that made my ass get up, and went up there with her. That's the truth, you know, because she didn't get pregnant by herself, you know. And all I'm trying to say is the church has been wrong for years of blaming women for pleasure, really, and not holding the man accountable, or the boy, whatever. I was a boy, you know, holding that boy accountable, you know, for his actions. And, and the sad part about this is, y'all, that it still happens today. Deep down somewhere, there is some bad theology and some bad theopneustos taking place when that happens, because listen, first let me say, babies are a blessing from the Lord. And we have taken, like Mel said, we have taken intimacy and we have destroyed that over the years based on a lot of misconceptions, based on what a young boy was told by his father, a young woman was taught by her mother, and so forth and so on, you know. But intimacy is something that God has put in place for the enjoyment, and not just for procreation, to have babies, but it's put in place where you are there to enjoy the physical intimacy of one another in a special way that's not designed to be shared. Now I'm talking about marriage, okay? Like I said earlier, I ain't no fool, but you know, we still talking about marriage. But talk to your mate, you know, talk to your spouse, and let them know, you know, this is why I act the way I act when you do X, Y, and Z. You don't know if a child was beaten as a child, and you know, well, I may not say that, but my wife told me please. But you know, it's clear the Bible says the bed is undefiled. So you don't know what abuse or what harassment that a woman and or a man has taken as a child to have that type of invasion of their privacy taken from them prematurely.
That's true.
So, you still have to talk through those things,
Yeah.
and you can't cover it up by getting married just to make it okay. Because if all you talking about is sex, then you ain't got a whole lot to talk about.
Right.
So intimacy is far beyond just, the intercourse part of it. It goes deeper and more intimate than sometimes we really think. So, but, let me stop before I put my foot in my mouth. Yeah. All right, come on, let's go.
I will say this.
Share your comments, please.
Please, yeah, y'all silent tonight.
Real silent.
Yeah, we need to hear from y'all.
Real.
But the thing is that what we, so to Rob's point, so if there's issues with sexual intimacy, and it is because one or both partners has had some type of sexual trauma, and a lot of times people, and that's true, Lynn, it's all mental and starts before the bedroom.
It does.
A lot of times people have had sexual trauma.
That's where your foreplay comes in.
And so if you've had it, now it's always your choice whether or not you want to share that. Always your choice. However, if it's causing issues in your marriage, you need to make some choices on whether or not you need to share that, because you can start taking it out on your spouse or your partner, and they don't know what's going on, and you not talking about it can really put a strain. So we all have the choice whether or not we want to share. However, it's something to really think through, because you have to, if it's really causing issues. The other thing too is you have to consistently talk about what you need. What is it you need? How you need it. We talked about how, hey Melissa, we talked about how, we if how often, what is fair. Talk through it. You may not always meet that, but you need to have at least know some expectations of what each other need. Sometimes, and we talk about this in premarital counseling with couples, how women, sometimes men want to be pursued. They want us to be the initiators. They don't always want to initiate. They want us to pursue them, and, be the initiators when it comes to sex. They want to know that we desire them too.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, now, Lynn, you do right. That's a good point. They have to make you feel safe.
Yeah. Your
mate should be your safe place.
Yeah.
And if they're not,
should be your lockboxing key.
If they're not, then there's other. Because if you can't share that because you don't feel safe, there's other places you don't feel safe in that relationship as well. And it's not just that. They have not made you feel comfortable about sharing a whole lot. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But you also, and that's a great
but
segue.
It's a great point.
It's a great segue, Lynn. But you also have to factor in the emotional side. So sometimes sharing those intimate details in a safe place can also be very intimidating for your spouse. So you kind of have to, I ain't say wait for the right moment or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to know when it is safe for you to share that intimate part, that naked side of you, and the maturity of the relationship. Maybe I'll say that.
Yeah.
Because you would hope that you would discover these things, not beforehand, but it should be at least tapped into and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, but don't not share in the fear of shaming yourself. Share in the space of freeing yourself to be free within your mate. I'll put it that way.
And it's
non-judgmental.
right. And now I will say, before you get married, you should know if that's a safe place.
Not just a safe place, but you got to make sure that you're willing to share that
at some point.
At some point before you get married, because we say all the time things change when you get married and so forth and so on. And you don't want you don't want your spouse to feel as if you withheld this and it's very critical. So these are things that we discuss in premarital counseling, because couples won't talk about it or before they get married. And we kind of push that down their throat to make sure that they understand all aspects of marriage. The dog and pony show is good, but after you done fed everybody, you got all your gifts, you done came from honeymoon.
It's when the work starts.
The work starts, and you just have to be really, really, really sensitive about it, but you also have to be very careful about it too. Go ahead.
So one of the ways. So if you ever find if you're in your marriage and your relationship and you find that you need to improve on your sexual intimacy, I found some ways that you could. One of the things is it says kiss daily. And it says a kiss is one of the easiest ways to show your affection for your spouse. Not only does the simple gesture, bring you just a little bit closer, but so much romance or intimacy just starts with a kiss. It says that someone quoted that kissing helps us stay connected to one another, and that it's hard to create too much distance from someone that you're kissing all the time. Many of our marital problems, this is a quote, begin when we just aren't kissing enough. And it's really what that means is having that connection. And it's funny because normally before we leave the house, we kiss one another. When we come in, we normally kiss one another. And it's so funny. So my grandparents, they've been married 65 years, it'll be 66 this year.
Lord have mercy.
To this day, they do not leave the house. And I witnessed it with my own eyes. They don't leave the house without kissing each other. When they first leave the house, whoever leaves the house first, they kiss each other before they leave the house. And I've watched them do that. I'm 47 years old, and I have watched them do that.
Girl, you just 47. I'm robbing the cradle.
You got your tenderoni. Whatever. So I've seen them. I've seen them do that. And it's, and it's amazing to see they're in their 80s and they still do that. And
they funny too.
They are hilarious. But just to see that connection with them. And I'm like, okay, they've been married 65 years. Your
lips don't change. Your lips don't. Your lips and your tongue don't change.
Shut up. So that it may be something, I'm just like, I wonder.
Hey, Sheila.
I know they're friends and I know they've had their ups in 60-some years. You had your ups and downs, but I have just always, that's been the consistent thing I've seen with them. So I think there's something to that. And it talks about making it a habit. It says do it in the morning, do it before bed, before you go to sleep at night, which we try to do if we want to fall asleep first. And, do different. I know, Lynn, I'm going to put them in timeout. And it says different styles, forehead, a passionate tongue down, whatever works. Just do it. And don't make it robotic, but just be intentional. Because it's a way of connecting. It's a way of connecting. And even, I think sometimes, and it's especially if you have children, and it's not for show, but your children need to see you interact. They need to see connection, positive relationship. So it's really good. And I Hope tries to jump in between us all the time or put her hand up, but we like, that's not gonna work. Because it's just we like, no, we're gonna kiss each other. So it's a game now. One thing it says, engage in public displays of affection. So it says, remember those early days in your relationship when even out in public, you had a hard time keeping your hands to yourselves. You found every reason to touch, whether it was holding hands through the store, hugging. It's time to bring those days back. Now, we do know that something happened with this.
It's me. I'm playing. It got off track somewhere. Keep going. We good.
Okay. So we found, as we talk to more and more couples, there are some people who don't like PDA. They don't like touching at all. And sometimes it's they didn't see it growing up. They've had some type of trauma. It's different reasons. So there was an exercise given to us once, and it was about us rebuilding our connection. And they told us to sit on the couch and just hold one another for 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
No phone, no TV, just hold each other. And cuddle. The other thing we were told was to be mindful about allowing Hope to sit in between us. That she always needed to see us connected. So having touch and connection, of course, goes completely past sex. But having that connection outside of there, it does bring a mental connection and an emotional connection, which when you do come together sexually, that's just the icing. Because you've done everything else, and then that's just the icing. So PDA is really good. Back rubs. See, I don't see it over here. It's not changing.
Yeah, well, because I got the master control, you'll see it slightly like it just moved.
Oh, yeah.
And I just moved it again.
Yeah, I just saw it.
And here it goes again.
Okay. It talks about back rubs. It don't have to be anything professional, but just like setting it up and giving each other a back rub, and enjoying one another, that creates intimacy. Now, one person can't fall asleep and not return the favor. Both people gotta participate in it. And it talks about creating intimate spaces in your home. So take a look at your room. Do you see stacks of books, tissue boxes, bills, laundry, files? Most, we can have chaos. But what it does, you thinking of things that you got to do. So you have to create a space of intimacy. So sometimes you have to have candles, some nice, the room smelling good, music, some type of ambiance that will create an intimate space that sets the mood. Because sometimes if you got laundry everywhere and your room is in disarray, if you like me and you're slightly OCD, you got to pick everything up before you can even rest well, not to mention anything else. So sometimes you have to create that space. Let's see what Lynn said. Before any sexual acts, a good practice to set a timer for 10 and just cuddle before engaging. That creates another level of intimacy. It does. And here's the thing. These are suggestions because it's different for everyone. Some people don't need a whole lot. It was funny because I think it was earlier this summer, I told Rob that I really like music. And he was like, "You do?"
I had no idea.
And he didn't remember. I know I had told him years ago, and he didn't remember that, which was cool. I mean, it ain't like it's completely something I have to have. It's just something I like to have. It's music. I just love to have music playing, and so in a lot of times when you have children in the house, it's hard sometimes to have those spaces. But when you can, do it. Try to have your intimate space.
Break your rooms in.
Yeah. Try a different room. If you can't go anywhere, with COVID, some people just don't want to go anywhere else, which is fine. Change your room, living room, kitchen, bathroom, wherever. Just change the scenery. It will, sometimes it's just a change of scenery can do it. So whatever you have to do, and y'all talk about what intimacy looks like for y'all. What, a lot of men don't need mood setting. Sometimes they like it, but they don't need it. With women, a lot of times we want a little finesse and mood setting. Sometimes we don't need it. Sometimes it's just nice to have. So I think you talk about it, what you need, and it's okay. Like if you haven't had it in a while, to say, "Hey, babe, need a little bit more romance. Need this," not in a nagging way. So you don't bring this stuff up in middle arguments. This is the stuff is just when you all are talking, doing your check-ins. Just be like, hey.
Casual conversation.
Just casual conversation. Just talk about it.
Non-judgmental.
Conversation.
How long have we been on?
It's almost time to end it. Okay. The other thing is talking about, I put this out here one time. it talks about do a sex challenge. And improving your sexual intimacy is a lot of work. And you may not always be in the mood, but sometimes you just have to do it. One way is by trying a sex challenge. And there are a lot of sex challenges out there. And it can range from time increments from 3 days to 30 days. 30 days is a lot in a row. But the goal isn't to make it so that you start having sex every day for the rest of your lives, but to get you on a sexual intimacy cycle moving in a positive direction. So, now I do know people who did the 30-day challenge and they met the 30-day challenge. God bless them. Hey, Dion. But maybe start with a 7-day. If you already having sex 7 days a week, God bless you and may heaven smile upon you. And if that's great, maybe this is not for you all. But if it's not there, maybe try it. See if that works. The deal is to get in a more to move your activity level, your sexual activity level in a positive way. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Uncle Jack. Oh, hey, so you want to get that? I would just look down the other
That's
Jackie.
your niece.
Don't pay me no mind.
You've known her longer than me.
Shut up. But you want to move the activity, your sexual activity, in a positive direction, not in a negative. And you don't want it to be a chore. That's definitely not what it's about. You want to enjoy it. You want it. It's about being more intimate. So intimacy is not a chore. It's about creating that space and creating connection. So that's what it's more about than it being a more of a chore. But sometimes a challenge each other on how romantic you can be. Challenge each other on
how about challenge each other on who gonna love the most?
That too. Other ways.
Everything else falling off.
Yeah, it will. Other ways to increase it, play games. It's a lot of games you can play. Oh man, we had a game when we was in Lake Norman. It was Truth or Dare. It was a Truth or Dare game. When I find it, I'm gonna post it on the page. So you could either answer the question or you could do the dare. Most of the dares were kind of like sexual favors, but it's a great way to spice things up. Mm-hmm. Another thing, go to some adult sex shops together, see what you all like. Just things, and it may seem like, but it's just things you can do together. And it's fun. It
is.
It's fun. When we were in New Orleans, okay, first of all, New Orleans in and of itself, Bourbon Street, I feel like that's one long street of just whatever happens can go, anything goes. But we just had fun, and we went in all kinds of stores. There was everything that you could just imagine that they had there. We were on vacation. It was just did and went in these stores, found all kinds of crazy stuff, and it was just fun to do. You just have to find things that are fun, and that's the thing. Have fun. That's the biggest thing. Have fun. Don't make it a chore. Have fun. And make sure that you're talking, and because when you stop talking about it, that's when, we always talk about those cracks in your relationship. When you stop talking about it, that's when you open up those cracks and allow things to seep in. When you stop talking about it, and you have to talk about it.
You do.
You do. You have to talk about it. We have like 4 minutes. I don't know if anyone has questions or comments. Please remember about the marriage retreat, November 13th and 14th. Is you can do in person or virtual.
Yeah. But please register. I'm going to put the link for the registration form out there, hopefully tomorrow or Thursday.
The other thing is, please like and share about the conference. We would greatly appreciate it. Invite someone. It's for married, engaged, or just thinking about it. So it's for everyone. We are excited about it. We're really excited about it. We think it's going to be, we always have a great time. Hopefully next year we can travel again, but, because we always enjoy that. But we think we're going to have a great time. And, so we'll put the link out there for the registration form here this week. But please like and share the flyer. But we really thank you all for your support. Thank you all for your comments tonight. Like and share the videos as well. We appreciate all of you all's support. If we don't have anything else, we want to thank you all again. Remember to pray for us as we pray for you. God bless you and good night.
Good night.